Signs he's never going to marry you. Marriage is a big deal and the ultimate commitment, however, not everyone wants to get married. If you want to get married, it can be devastating to learn that the man you love doesn't want the same thing. Maybe he never wants to get married, or maybe he just doesn't want to marry you. No one wants to waste time on a dead-end relationship. No one wants to spend years with someone who just isn't and maybe was never on the same page. There are certain signs that will tell you the outcome of your relationship, but you have to actually look, and a lot of people don't. Sometimes it's easier to just turn a blind eye to avoid having to face what you really don't want to accept, and that is the man you love may not want to marry you. To help you gain perspective and see more clearly, here are some signs that he is never going to marry you. He doesn't move the relationship forward. When guys are interested in marriage, they will take advantage of the opportunity to move the relationship to the next stage. For example, after being together for a year or so, it is normal to move in together, especially if he has his own place. Or, you have been together for several years, and you have never taken a vacation together. If he isn't taking these steps with you, it's a pretty clear sign that he won't marry you anytime soon. He told you he doesn't want to get married. It doesn't get any more evident than this. If a guy tells you he has no intention of getting married, he's probably being honest. Some men simply don't desire to get married. Maybe they saw their parents' marriage turn sour, or for whatever reason, they don't think marriage is necessary. If this is the case, he doesn't want to get married and probably will never marry you. He downplays the relationship. When people ask about the relationship, he downplays it and says it isn't that serious. Or when introducing you, he says only your name and not your relationship with him. When a man is truly in love, he wants to show off his lady. He is proud to be her man. He feels like the luckiest guy in the world. And he wants to show off his good fortune to anyone and everyone. If he doesn't feel that way, he isn't going to publicly profess his love by marrying you. You haven't met his family and close friends. If you haven't met his friends and family, that's not a good sign. If you have met his friends and family, but you don't really know them, it's a little less of a red flag, but still a flag nonetheless. If he doesn't really invite you to family functions, doesn't include you when he's hanging out with his close friends, he doesn't really care if you like them or they like you, then it means he's not really all that invested in you. It is rare for a man to get married without first introducing his potential wife to family and friends. So, if you have been together for a while and haven't met the family, marriage is probably off the table. It's all excuses. His first excuse may be that he needed to be making more money. It is normal to want to be financially stable before marriage. But once he gets a raise, his next excuse is that he wants to own his home. After that, he may say that he needs to wait until he can afford a destination wedding. When there is excuse after excuse, this is a pretty clear indicator that marriage isn't in his plans. He refuses to talk about marriage. If a man knows he doesn't want to get married but wants to avoid an argument, he will refuse to discuss the issue altogether. He knows that it will only upset you. So, he would rather avoid the conversation than rock the boat. He's unconcerned about the future. When you discuss your future plans, he seems entirely uninterested. Or he makes plans for his future without including you. This shows that he doesn't see you as being part of his long-term plan. And it is likely that he won't marry you. He detaches from you emotionally. When a man is truly connected to you and wants you to be a permanent part of his life, he will allow you to be close to him. A man who is willing to be vulnerable with you sees a future with you. So, if he is building up walls and distancing from you, he doesn't see you as wife material. He lives like a single man. If you're wondering why guys don't want to get married, it is because some of them want to enjoy the freedom of the bachelor lifestyle. Men generally take longer to mature than women. If he is still living like he is in college, going out to bars, drinking, and flirting with other women, this is one of the red flags you should look out for. If he spends all his time hanging out with the guys instead of you, or prefer to spend time mostly with single people who aren't in committed relationships. He simply isn't ready to settle down. He proposes but makes no additional plans. So, he's popped the question. But avoids all talk of the wedding or refuses to set a date, reserve a venue, or plan who will be in the wedding. That's one of the huge signs he will never marry you. This suggests that he proposed because he thought it was something he had to do. Or because he wanted to keep the peace. But he has no intentions of actually getting married to you. He drops hints. If he won't marry you, he's probably going to drop hints that point to this fact. So, listen to what he says. For example, he may make comments about not wanting to rush into a serious relationship. Or he may comment on how young the two of you are. He claims he's not ready. If you have been together for years and he claims that he doesn't know if he's ready to marry you, chances are he knows you're not the one, and he won't marry you. Most people know early on, if their partner is the one for them, so if he still isn't sure, it means he doesn't see you as his future wife. You're laying down some hints. When you drop hints about marriage, but he continues to not propose, this suggests that he maybe isn't interested. One of the ways to know if he wants to marry you is that you won't have to force him. He will want to ask you to be his wife, and you won't have to beg him with endless hints. There is no sign of you on his social media. It may seem unimportant. But in today's technological world, most couples are connected on social media. He has Facebook and Instagram, but you can't be seen on any of his social media. That's not a good sign. If he was really into you, he wouldn't be hiding you. Even if he is not a social media person, he should be at least tagging you on special occasions like your anniversary, birthday, or Valentine's Day. If not, then you already know where you stand in his life. He basically doesn't want other people, mainly other women, to see that he's taken. And it's a pretty good sign that he isn't ready to commit to you. He only cares about his sexual needs. A man who loves you and sees you as his future wife will want to satisfy you in bed. If he seems to use you for sex and doesn't care whether you get any pleasure out of it, this is not a man who plans to marry you. You're not a priority in his life. When a man is invested in you and see a future with you, he will make you a priority because he won't want to lose you. If you get the feeling, you just aren't a priority, this man does not plan for a future with you. And is probably just riding out his time with you until he finds someone else. All his exes are crazy. If he has had numerous failed serious relationships and blames all of his exes, it could be that he is actually the one with the problem. Perhaps he failed to commit to them. And instead of accepting his hesitation to get married, he has to turn the blame on the women. It's important to remember that you are worthy and valuable, even if you find yourself in a relationship with a man who isn't interested in marriage. Your value as a human being is not dependent upon whether or not someone wants to marry you.